We're going to go live. All right. We are live. Welcome, my friend, great colleague, and what do you call me, QB buddy on?
Yeah, you're my virtual cubicle buddy.
Yes, on LinkedIn. Just so fun to have you here today. We are just really excited about the Authentic Imprint and this assessment. And I'm Dana Williams. Got my friend Jaclynn Robinson with us, and we are really here to talk about authenticity. We were just talking about that before I had to push the live button. But each week we're going to go behind the scenes and just with real leaders and coaches like Jaclynn, and we want to explore what it means to lead from within. And Jaclynn and I both have a passion for people and helping people live out their best self every day. And we're going to be talking, which is the Authentic Imprint, which is aligning strengths, values, mission, and emotional recognition. So, Jaclynn, why don't you introduce yourself and tell our listeners a little bit about you?
Yeah. Hi, team. If I haven't met anyone that's listening in, my name is Jaclynn Robinson. I am an executive coach. I am an organizational consultant. I love working with leaders, managers, and teams as we're thinking about employee engagement, workplace well-being, strengths-based development, identifying your purpose and leading with it. And my overall mission that I just see, not even just in my profession, but personally, is to elevate people and celebrate culture.
Love that.
Positivity and maximizer high for the strengths folks in the room. And so you can probably hear that come out in my mission itself. And that's pretty much how I like to live and lead.
It's awesome. One thing that we really want to dive in today is there is a assessment I created, and it's called the Authentic Imprint Assessment. And I'll put the link in the notes here, so on the chat, so you can see. But we had Jaclynn said, "Oh, I'll take this and see where I am." And this is really reflects where you are right now. She's a founder, she's a leader, she's a coach, but she's also a human being who has family members and all kinds of things going on. So, Jaclynn, when you took the Authentic Imprint Assessment, what really spoke to you when you took it? And was there an area? There's 4 areas that kind of come through, and how you're doing in your strengths, how you're doing in your mission, your core values, and your emotional recognition. Which ones kind of popped for you when you took it just recently?
Yeah, mission and the emotional recognition. They stood out so clearly to me. Mission because it was so strong, and it resonated, and it was really validating too. But I really lead my life with that in mind. Am I doing things that help me elevate people and celebrate culture? And for anyone that doesn't know, my background is as an international psychologist, and sociologist, and criminologist. So I'm always thinking about people and society and culture. And if I start to sway from it, and I'm aware that I'm swaying from it, then it starts to mess with my emotions. And so the emotional recognition piece was lower, and that made a lot of sense because I'm trying to be a lot more clear and present with where I sit emotionally so that I can redirect myself using my strengths to continue to just know I'm still aligned with my mission, but there might be something else I have to do in the interim. And you know, you and I had been talking about caretaking responsibilities. And things just come up in our life that we still have to manage that might not be in alignment with our fully focused mission, but we just have to find ways to manage through it anyways.
Yeah. So how have you been managing through it? Because you've been managing caretaking, and you founded your own business, and you've been a female founder and leader. So that kind of stuff doesn't stop when you have to kind of start taking care of a family member and be doing both and manage your well-being and all those things that we talk about. So what has shown for you when you saw that emotional recognition pop and yeah,
I think you highlighted where all the the stress has been coming from in the last couple of months.
Yeah.
Anyone that has followed me on Instagram has seen I've made many a trip to Home Depot with the caregiving and just getting one of my one of my parents' homes ready to sell. But
Yeah.
it's been, what I had to go back to was I got out of my routine, and I have very high discipline and focus in my Clifton strengths. And that always can make me more anxious. And so it was, maybe I'm not going to have my full routine, but
Mm,
where can I incorporate parts of my routine in the day so that I still feel that piece of me and I'm feeding the well-being that I need and the structure that
mm.
I need. And so even looking at the lower emotional recognition, it just also helped validate and identify that this is something that is, it's important that I continue to work on and to keep top of mind. And so I would do journaling at night and start to incorporate that back in, or maybe I wasn't able to do 4 days of yoga and 4 days of going to the gym, but I could do 2 days. I'm
Mhm.
at yoga 2 times a week, or I'm working a week, or going for a walk. So it was looking for little ways that I could continue to keep my well-being alive. And then on the workplace side, how can I continue to just be responsive to emails and be attuned to what I am working on, current
Mhm.
projects, current clients, and then anything that needs to be more future focused, I just need to put on hold for the moment so I can maintain more of a balance.
So when you took the assessment and you saw the emotional recognition, what would
Yeah.
you do differently now? Is there an area of your life that is it more about managing your energy, or is it then your time maybe? Because you're got the achiever and the all the things going.
Yeah.
Um,
Well,
yeah.
I love the emotional recognition piece, and I'm looking to the monitor team because I love having it up. But
Mhm.
when it says the ability to notice, name, and understand your emotional state
Mm,
before it shapes your actions or relationships, I
mhm.
think that's really big because a lot of times we know what might be coming up in the week, and you can immediately just start to feel that energy shift, and you
Mm,
might be really excited or really anxious for it. So I
mm.
love that piece to go, okay, oh, what am I feeling? And how do I start to label it and recognize what that emotion is so that I can set the right system or structure in place going into the next day or going into the week.
And
So
I
that's what's been really helpful in looking at the assessment. And then going back to the strengths clarity, which is another stronger one for me to say, yeah, what talent themes do I want to maybe dive into this week? What do I want to lean into more?
mhm.
Yeah.
One of the things I feel like once you know your Clifton strengths, and if you don't, you can go to
Mhm.
Gallup and take the assessment. But you mentioned your strengths quite a bit. So why don't we tell the audience what your top strengths
Mhm.
are and which ones kind of get in your way during seasons like you've just had?
Yes. So I have achiever, strategic, maximizer, positivity, and relator in my top five. And my 6 through 10. During COVID, I had a bit of a transition. So what sits in my 6 through 10 is active, futuristic,
Mhm.
activator, focus. Arranger decided to leave during COVID, and discipline, which was already high. It was
Mm.
number 12 is now in my top 10. And then self-assurance and yeah, and self-assurance.
Yeah. So which ones are you pulling up right now when you find yourself your emotional recognition? It might be one of those areas of well-being. It might be just emotionally. It might
Mhm.
we talked about physical. What are some things that what are some strengths you can combine to help you through that, that you see kind of you forget to pull out sometimes, especially with all the
Yes.
high achieving and discipline and all those?
Yeah. Um, I would say I've leaned a lot more into focus because
Mm,
the minute I start to get more scatterbrained, because I see so many things I need to get done all at once, that could be overwhelming. So focus just kind of homes in and says, but what's the biggest priority for today? What are your big three? And I pull that from Michael Hyatt in his book Free to Focus. He talks about focus on what are your big three priorities. You
mhm.
might have 10 things you need to focus on, but what are the big three and tackle those first? So that's been helpful. What are my big three I need to focus on today? And let me start those in the morning. And then discipline, because now I've got the structure now that I know what I need to focus on. And I've actually had to dial down more of the achiever um,
Mhm.
in some ways because I want to get things done, But achiever can just be, as people with achiever know, it can be a blessing and a curse, and it can create more anxiety. So,
Mhm.
and I've had to use that more on the well-being side than the work side to say, it's okay if you're not going to work out 7 to 8 times this week because you like gym and yoga.
7 or 8 times.
Just go with 3 times and you're going to be just fine too.
Yeah, dialing that down, right? So, and really, I love that you brought up Michael Hyatt and, daily. And I think that's why I love creating this strengths journal, because you can figure out your strengths, but figure out those top 3 and then apply your strengths to them every day to kind of give you a boost. And
Yes.
Jaclynn, I've really determined that this is a daily work. I mean,
Mhm.
for me, it's a daily work. Do you feel that way? That
Yes.
as you're trying to manage yourself, it's that big CEO of yourself. Who is Jaclynn, and what does she need today? And what is her
Yes.
emotional well-being? And one of the things we talk about in the book, The Internal Revolution, which is just exactly what gives you things to do. So once you take your assessment that I've got up in the notes in the chat, it tells you what chapters in the book to go to and find that
Mhm.
energy. So I really wanted something simple. I created this for me because I need something simple. I want to cut through all the chaos and all the distractions to go, okay, this is what I need for me today, and be able to go to the book and to that chapter, whatever it is. So you can take this assessment as many times as you want, depending on what you're going through and what areas you want to work on, and see how you've improved. So curious about when you think about your core values. We talked about a little bit about your strengths. Now I want to dive into core values. How do your core values show up for you? And I know some people are like, well, I don't know the difference between core values and strengths. How
Yeah.
have you separated those so that you kind of understand what they are as you think about living your authentic imprint daily?
Yeah. I see them, I see how they weave together, most certainly. And one example might be, I really am a strong believer in being authentic. This is why
Mhm.
we also connect, isn't it? It's
Yes,
something that you really live and lead by, as well as authentic, and sharing that in regard to authentic leadership. But those genuine, authentic relationships and people, I'm really,
mm,
it means a lot to me. And I also see that come through in my relator.
mm,
And as we know, the Clifton Strengths Relator theme is about having those deep, meaningful, genuine relationships. Um,
absolutely.
yeah, so that's a big one. Ambition has always been a big value. Nature is actually a value, which people might go, huh, I never thought about that as an
Mhm.
actual value. But being out in nature makes me feel more connected to myself and then to the world at large. And it connects back to my strengths because it's, for me, it allows me to think, and I lead with strategic thinking as a domain.
I love how you wove in your strengths with your core values. They're kind of like a doorway, right?
Mhm.
Another dimension to our
Yeah.
strengths, the core values. Yesterday we were at the lake, and this just flock of birds came in. When you talk about nature, it just went right to my mind. I had put it on Instagram because it was so incredible. But the noise they were making, it wasn't a bad noise. It was just a precious noise because it was nature. They were flapping their wings in the water, going in and going under, and then coming up all at once. It was
Yes.
incredible. But it
Aw.
feeds our soul, right? That
Yes.
nature piece you just brought up. So when you think about your core values and you think about leadership, have there been times recently when your actions or your commitments didn't align with your values?
Mm.
And it might be, I always do this cold. I don't give anybody these questions ahead of time. So I'm
And
just
you can tell,
asking
right, Tim? Because I'm
you.
like, hmm.
No, but there might be, it might be somebody wanted to do something and you weren't ready to do it, or you were having to do something. It really wasn't, part of your values, or
Yeah.
just, as, as leaders, I think sometimes, commitments maybe don't align sometimes, that we
Yes.
have to get them done.
Yes.
So if there's something that comes up, great, but I'm just curious if anything is coming up for you in that area.
Yeah, certainly the latter. What you just mentioned is what I was thinking about, was less with the workplace. I think that's the beauty of being
Mm,
able to work for yourself, is making sure that you're aligned with the right clients and the clients feel aligned with you, and the work you're putting forth is something that you really believe in. But on the outside of that, we always have events that come up or situations that come up where it feels like it's pulling us out of alignment. But we might feel that it's just a responsibility or duty that we have that we need to just fulfill. Doesn't mean it's going to be long lasting, but sometimes things just happen. And so in that regard, I think I've had to really, going back to the emotional recognition piece of this assessment and mission connection, knowing the mission is still there, it's still standing, it's still really strong in me, but how do I manage my current emotions so that I can manage the situation in a way that's going to be, that's still giving out more of that positive light and energy, so to speak, than seeing it as a bad thing.
And yeah, and it's that managing ourselves first.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to go serve your family. You've got to go serve, your clients. So how would you help leaders when they're going through that, they're, working in their values from, aspirational to actual in their daily decisions?
Mm-hmm.
Have you found ways to help leaders with that, with their values? I know you have value cards and you do some fun things.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. And so what I love doing is having leaders journal. And it could just be, journaling free thought for those that like to journal and just brain dump.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of science behind brain dumping, especially in the morning, because you're getting it out of your head.
Yes.
What I like to have them do, because oftentimes the minute I've recognized leaders start to feel more of that disconcerting experience, they start to lose sight of what am I valuing, or what might my purpose be, or, how far am I from the path I want to walk on? And so I'll just have them typically collect a month's worth of their daily activities. And sometimes they might already be those agenda writers anyways, where they've got a calendar, sure, but they still like having their to-do list, or they're writing down what their appointments are. Next to it, on a scale of 1 to 5, I enjoyed this. I did it with ease, excellence, and enjoyment. Make a note of those experiences. And at the end of the month, we can look back and see, where did you have a lot of 5s? Where did you have a lot of 1s? And 2s? And we can start to identify, where are you living more of your values and your strengths and that purpose that you see for yourself. But before we even revisit that 30 days later, they have that day, they have that week where they can go back and see, where am I finding joy, and how do I try to build more of that in while I'm going through this, tumultuous season, whether it's because the workplace is disrupted at the moment, or they're balancing something at home, or it's just busy. And it helps them start to put a little bit more of that in place.
I love that. And do you find yourself doing it for yourself sometimes?
Yes. Mentally, I'm like, okay, yeah, okay. Which goes back to, maybe I'm just going to get one walk in for the week, because that gets me outside. That gives me some fresh air. I can start to think about my next steps, or maybe it's just going to the gym twice and I can just get a little bit of a sweat on, or maybe it's reading one chapter of a book for the night. But maybe I'm not going to get my whole routine I love for the day, but if I can just incorporate 1 or 2 of those things that give me energy and spark my well-being, it's going to help me be a better person all around.
Yeah. And I think, and it's that practicing daily and checking in throughout the day and seeing how you're doing.
Yeah.
Well, I got chill bumps when I saw your score on mission, and 100%, your mission, and you list so many people, Jaclynn, don't know their mission, and they're just living by default to the design.
Yeah.
How did you come up with your mission? Was it something over time and then you just kind of started writing, or was it one day you wrote it a long time ago? I'm just curious.
I remember it just came to me very easily, really easily. And I've seen this whole mission of elevating people and celebrating culture. I've seen glimpses of that and sparks of that since I was a kid.
Wow.
Yeah, I wanted to dress up for Halloween when I was 4, I think, as more of this explorer, this like pioneer that was going out and exploring the world. And I wanted to save the rainforest and the tigers, and I want to adopt people from all over the countries. And so I got
Wow.
it, and I'm like, okay. So the elevating people, celebrating culture has just been, it's at my core. And the phrase just came to me. And I remember I didn't really have to think about it. And I'm just guided by that day in and day out. And I think having that as my North Star has really supported how I'm able to lean into my strengths with more intention too. And the clients I serve and the community involvement that I partake in and so forth.
And we've been talking about the authentic imprint and how the imprint is, your strengths plus your core values. Now we're talking about mission. And then
Mhm.
when you looked at this and it was like mission was 100%, is there any area right now that you haven't been using that mission, you want to start using it? Or sometimes it's underlined, we just haven't fired it up,
Mhm.
in this season of helping your family and doing some caretaking. So which one is, how are you going to fire that up right now in this finishing 2025 strong and kicking
Yeah.
off 2026? How are you going to do that?
Oh, yes.
That.
And I love that you asked that question too, because I'm really focused on Q4 right now and how do I want to finish Q4 strong now that I can redirect back into more of this mission and purpose of elevating people and celebrating culture. And so it's just diving back into the work where now I can go from maybe that 3-foot deep level back into the 8 to 12-foot deep level of the pool and
Mm,
with individuals and see who seeks that support with coaching or consulting or facilitation. I love doing retreats, and so
mm,
so excited for the fall because we have the holidays and that's joyful. Even if we're stressed out, people find so much joy in the holiday season and they have that they can grasp onto. So I just love it. It feeds my positivity. But this is also a time when you see teams come together for team retreats.
mhm,
And they're starting to think of kickoffs for 2026. So
mhm,
I'm really excited for this fall season because it will allow me to engage with those managers and teams or leaders that are, looking for someone to support them with engagement. So they're in your strong well-being so that their people are feeling strong internally,
mm,
and or strengths-based development where you're leading with more of that joy and energy. So
mm.
that's what 2025 year in is going to look like is supporting those managers and teams or organizations that are doing more retreats or just looking for opportunities to give something back to their employees so that they're ending their year strong.
I love that. And it really speaks to what your whole mission is. And I think when
Mhm.
something speaks to that, it's that authentic self coming out and it feels so easy because
Yeah.
everything aligns, right?
Yes. Yes. I love it.
And I think so many times we're living off alignment. It is, I think the numbers I've been seeing lately about people looking external things
Yes.
to help them with their management of self instead of internally. And that's why I put up here the internal revolution, really focusing on what is it that I need to work on inside of me, prepping for the end of the year. What does that look like? How am I going to do my mission? What is the connection with my mission and the work that I want to achieve? And I love how you talked about that. And what I want to know is when you think about, because my futuristic and you have futuristic,
Yes.
how do you scale impact with that?
Ooh, by
Ooh.
leading authentically.
Yeah, with your mission, how would you scale impact with that? What does that look like for you?
Ooh, yes. For me, it's global. It's global. So it's when I can continue to expand my mission and purpose outside of the United States. When I'm in other countries and we're discussing what employee engagement and well-being or strengths-based development looks like, how are they living and leading with their purpose? I talk a lot about purposeful productivity And it's how are they engaging with that? What are some of the cultural practices they have that support their well-being or support what engagement looks like in the workplace? And so it's anytime I can really thread in that international psychology piece and go beyond borders to support other teams. That's when I know that I'm really living my mission and purpose.
And you're scaled. I've seen you
Scaling.
moment.
Yes.
I've seen you in Croatia and other countries when you're writing in and you've just done a session and I'm like, oh my gosh, there she is. There it is. And
Yes.
it's just, it gives you chill bumps because you know that's what you've been created to do.
Yes.
So yeah. And so when we're not getting to do what we've created to do, it's how do we manage ourselves during that time? And so it's making sure your mission is alive and well every day. And even when we're doing stuff, the tough stuff, right?
Yes.
We've been
Yes.
talking about. So as we round out the four areas, the fourth area is emotional recognition. And we've been talking about that a little bit. This is an area most people want to work on. And where do you think that comes from, that we as human beings don't really know how to manage our emotional state? We just kind of go through things and we don't check in with our energy, or we don't stay centered. We're just kind of moving through life. Where do you think that comes from? From your work as a psychologist and all the things that you've done, what have you seen, Jaclynn?
A lot of it, we just live in a world where we're constantly distracted by everything. I mean, we're constantly task switching. And every time you task switch, you lose upwards of 23 minutes of time. And so in a world where we now have technology everywhere and we have apps we're using constantly, we're checking our emails in between trying to get real work done. Don't really take the time necessary to just pause and take a breath and really see the whole forest. We're just so busy inside it trying to get work done that we're not taking the pause. We're not taking the time. So in this distraction society, because of technology, bless it, we need it.
It is a distraction.
Yeah. We really do have to find that opportunity to just take a pause and check in with ourselves. I think that's why well-being has become so much more relevant and prevalent in today's society, especially after the pandemic, when people were just so burned out or stressed out or scared of what was happening. Now we're seeing that well-being is something that isn't just seen as a nice to have, it's a need to have. And one of the best ways that we can support it really quickly is to take that deep breath and get ourselves out of that flight or fight, constant go, go, go mentality we have, and switch back into the system that just allows us to be a little bit more present and focused to say, how am I feeling right now? And am I focused on the right work? Even just those two questions you're asking yourself can go above and beyond, but it takes a moment to get out of the inbox or to close out the 9 different, Google Chrome tabs you might have open, or Firefox tabs, choose your own adventure. But, yeah.
And I think when we think about, and this is one of the things I say in the book, it's not about being more productive. It's about being more you. So managing your day as a CEO of yourself instead of managing it as everybody else wants you to manage it or reacting to everybody else. I see a lot of energy zapped there. And myself, I've done that, and so what are the habits we can get into to manage our energy over managing time? You talked about the breath work. I think that's incredible. And I know that this is resonating with the audience. I had somebody reach out today and say, well, how do I manage my energy? What are things I can do? Because we don't want to think about time as time. We want to think about it as energy. And what am I bringing into this day? So what's speaking to you as I talk about that and you think about your emotional recognition?
Gosh, it's so true. It is so true. And what resonates with me, the way you talk about managing your energy, I was just listening to a podcast earlier today, and it was the Career Contessa podcast. And they were talking about we talk a lot about managing time, and it is about managing your emotions or managing your attention. How are you managing your attention so you can better manage your emotions? Because we've got the time, but we've just kind of made that the excuse, as opposed to just taking a moment and checking in with ourselves and saying, where is my energy at right now? So that, to your point, and coming back to how it applies to me, I'll do that. Anytime I naturally start to feel more anxious, then having taken the assessment too, it really helps me just pause and go, wait a minute, what am I feeling and where is this coming from? And does it actually serve me well to, you know, be freaking out right now, or to be thinking about the 10 different things I need to get done? No, that's just going to take me further down the rabbit hole versus just taking a pause and saying, I'm stressed out because I have 10 different things I need to do, but what's the biggest priority at this moment? And that really helps me manage my emotions.
Have you always done this internal work, or is this shifted for you as you launched your business and went from corporate into your own, managing your own? Because there's a lot of female founders out there, and other entrepreneurs out there, men and women watching this. So I want to make sure, when you're addressing, you're kind of leading yourself when you're running your business, a little different than working for corporate. Did you find a shift there?
Yes. I think in anyone else that has their business, if you have people underneath you, you've got the responsibility of what probably feels like the world, because you are responsible for other individuals' paychecks and their survival, their basic needs. And it feels like a lot of pressure. And that's hard to manage. And if you're a solopreneur, then everything is also on you. You don't have the responsibility of having to divvy up paychecks for other employees, but everything is on you. So if you're not making moves in your business, then there go your basic needs potentially. And so both are facing stressors. And I think that probably connects with those out there that have their own business. And so I think it's even more important. I found that it's been even more important to manage, to go, okay, you can't freak out. You can't go down a rabbit hole. You have to just understand what's going to be the most pressing need today. And the positivity certainly helps to say, there's going to be a way through. But if I'm panicking or if I'm anxious, I'm not going to be able to find it. My brain's just going to go back to that animal brain survival mode, and it's not going to help me come up with the right solution or a better solution.
And, it's funny because I think we go back to old patterns, right? From childhood and we bring them into our adult life, into our marriages, into our corporate, into our partnerships, and we don't think about it. And then we try to operate in that, and then we realize there's a stop. And I think that's what happened with me, Jaclynn, when I realized, wait, there's so many patterns I've carried and they're not serving me anymore. So it became more of a mindset thing of, what am I thinking right now? What strength am I using? What is my core value? And how am I emotionally feeling at this moment? And what can I do to shift myself? And I love the breath work that you talked about. And sometimes for me, it's just going on a walk. But the other thing that I've really working with leaders is really stepping back and taking a moment throughout the day, not, in the morning, what is the intention for today? Like you talked about with the top 3 things, but then in the middle of the day, oh my gosh, what am I feeling and how am I doing right now? And then at the end of the day, in the book, I talked about the editor's husband is Norwegian, and he said to her every night, are you satisfied with today? And one of my leaders said, yes. And I want to say satisfied with what you did intentionally today. I thought, oh, there it is. But I think it's those things of self-managing and getting ourselves into that mindset of I'm in charge of my day and nobody else can come in. And I think that's with the authentic, when we're saying that and feeling it and doing it, then it's okay what happens out here, because we're not trying to control things outside we can't control, right? You can control all that stuff going on when you were managing and caretaking. You just had to kind of work through it. And that's what this is about with the internal revolution. Jaclynn, I love having you here and sharing so authentically with us today on LinkedIn Live. Would you mind sharing with the audience, and you can just put it in the chat too, how they can reach you if they're interested in more from you, and we can definitely put that in the chat as well. So just let me know and we can pop that up. And you've got several different products and things they can take a look at. So love to hear you talk about that as well. So,
Yeah, thank you. Yes, you can find me on my website, Jaclynn Robinson, Jaclynn, Robinson.com. And if you do Jaclynn Robinson slash or JaclynnRobinson.com/shop, I've curated, this is my ideation kicking in, team, but for
yay.
2 or 3 years, I knew I wanted to curate content from meaningful businesses that focused on purpose, productivity, and well-being. Products that, as an individual, if it's a book and you're having this year where you're pivoting, you could, pick up the Pivot Yearbook.
Mhm.
Or if you're really focused on values, there are core values cards that you could look towards. Or if journaling and reflection was something that you're focused on, there are cards related to reflection where you can pull in every day and it asks you a question and you think about what that looks like for you. And so my vision has come to life in this shop, and it's essentially just books and cards and journals that support with well-being, purpose, and productivity. So individuals can use them, but I also like to incorporate them into my own workshops. And then if you're also a facilitator or a coach, those questions and the reflection cards are really useful. And then you can also find me on Instagram on my great adventures.
Yay.
It's my handle is Dr. Jaclynn Robinson. And you'll see, I love traveling. It's a big part of who I am. And I think it helps me with the role that I have to go and visit other cultures and see how they live and the foods they eat and their art and their history and their culture. So you see that, and you see my coaching come out certainly on my Instagram.
I see that in your radiate, how you radiate when you talk about that.
Yeah.
But here's what I would challenge you with is I hear your mission and I hear the international. As
Mhm.
you think about 2026, I want you to think about 5 things you want to celebrate that you're going to do in 2026.
I'm so glad you bring that up, because the achiever in me, for everyone with achiever, we just go to the next thing and it's really hard for us. And I know that hurts my positivity.
Mhm.
Celebrates for maybe a minute and then it's like, but what else do we need to get done? So I love that. I'm going to take that with me for sure.
Well, and that's your word is celebrate, right? And
Yes.
so it's like, I want you to turn that on you.
Celebrate others.
Yes, let's turn that on you. I had a coach talk about that last week, and I thought that is so powerful. So, and I'm challenging all of my people to look at your goals as 2026 as celebrations and
Mhm.
think about what you're going to celebrate. And then you get really focused on with your focus on
Yes.
what you're going to do. So I can't wait to hear what those are,
Oh,
Jaclynn.
I love that.
So it's so thank you so much for being here today and sharing openly. I loved that you were able to participate in this assessment. And I think in about another month, go back and take it again and see which areas change, because they will. They will.
Yes.
You will be out of that one season into this next season. So things will have changed a little bit. And then it helps us kind of learn how to adjust to what we want to work on. And then I put your link to your ways that people can reach you on your website. And then just remind people that we've got the book, The Internal Revolution, which can help you really go in there and lead authentically, like Jaclynn is talking about, and build your brand from within. So we all have a personal brand. We just show up with it, whether we know it or not. So why not live intentionally every day and live by energy instead of by time? So
Yes. Well said. Please agree with the book.
thank you. Thank you so much for being here. And thank you, audience, for being here with us. And can't wait to hear back from each of you. So best to you as we get ready to have a strong 2025 end of year and launch 26 well. So thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Mhm.